Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is R.S. Raghu and with me is Renuka bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. Indian government asks states and union territories to prioritize those awaiting second dose of COVID-19 vaccine. Early trend of decline in daily new COVID cases and deaths noted in the country, says Health Ministry. Philippines reported its first two cases of the Indian COVID-19 variant. Prime Minister Narendra Modi thanks his Bhutanese counterpart Dr. Lothe Tshering for support in wake of COVID pandemic. Major opposition parties in Nepal start preparations to form a new government after Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli lost the vote of confidence at lower house. At least 8 killed in a school shooting in Kazan city of Russia. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi will not attend the G7 summit to be held in Cornwall in the UK in person owing to the COVID-19 situation in the country. As the number of COVID cases is on the rise, we appeal to our listeners to take all the precautions and all those above 18 years of age to get vaccinated without any hesitation. The vaccination for persons between the age of 18 and 44 has begun at designated facilities. Stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. The Union government has asked states and union territories to ensure that all beneficiaries who have taken the first dose are prioritized for the second doses. Union Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan and Chairman of Empowered Group on Technology and Data Management to Combat COVID-19 and member National Expert Group on Vaccine Administration Dr. R.S. Sharma on Tuesday reviewed the status of COVID vaccination with health secretaries of states and UTs through video conference. Mr. Bhushan said states can reserve at least 70% of the vaccines supplied to them by the central government for second dose vaccination and the remaining 30% for first dose. He, however, said states have the liberty to enhance this to as much as 100%. The states were asked to undertake an awareness campaign for reinforcing the importance of complete vaccination with 2 doses of the vaccine. The Secretary urged states to ensure that priority groups are vaccinated. Mr. Bhushan said states have been informed in a transparent manner in advance about the COVID vaccines being provided to them from the central government channel. The next allocation for the period of 15th to 31st of May will be conveyed to them on 14th of May. States were also urged to minimize vaccine wastage. The Union Health Secretary pointed that there were many states which still needed to substantially reduce the wastage. It was suggested to states and UTs to retrain and reorient vaccinators to ensure judicious usage of the vaccines. Dr. R.S. Sharma said that CoWIN will shortly provide the flexibility and feature for reserving slots for second dose. The need for the information, education and communications campaign for informing people that they should use only one mobile number for both doses for its reflection in their certificate was stressed. Dr. Sharma reiterated the critical importance of the verity and authenticity of data. He also urged states to avoid use of restrictive criteria to uphold the mantra of CoWIN providing vaccination to anyone, anywhere and at any time. The Health Ministry on Tuesday said 13 states have more than 1 lakh active COVID-19 cases each and 26 states and UTs have a positivity rate of over 15%. Briefing the media in New Delhi this evening, Health Ministry officials said Goa has the maximum case positivity rate at 49.6% and Maharashtra's positivity rate is 22.5%. The national positivity rate is around 21%. Decline in new cases and deaths is also being observed in the last couple of days. Country has registered over 3,29,000 new COVID cases in the last 24 hours as compared to 3,66,000 COVID cases on Monday.
India has administered more than 17 crore 51 lakh doses of COVID-19 vaccine in the country so far. These include over 95 lakh 81,000 healthcare workers who have taken the first dose and more than 65 lakh healthcare workers who have taken the second dose. Over 1 crore 41 lakh frontline workers have taken the first dose and more than 79 lakh frontline workers have taken the second dose. India had launched the world's largest vaccination drive on 16th of January this year. The Union Health Ministry said that more than 23 lakh 85,000 beneficiaries were inoculated with COVID-19 vaccine doses till 8 p.m. today, out of which more than 10 lakh 65,000 beneficiaries were vaccinated for first dose and more than 13 lakh 19,000 beneficiaries received second dose of the vaccine. The ministry said more than 4 lakh 74,000 beneficiaries of the age group 18 to 44 years received their first dose of COVID vaccine today, and cumulatively over 30 lakh 39,000 across 30 states and union territories. The liberalized and accelerated phase 3 strategy of COVID-19 vaccination has come into force from 1st of this month. Meanwhile, the government in the western Indian state of Maharashtra has decided that people in the age group of 18 to 44 will no longer be administered Covaxin due to limited availability of the Bharat Biotech-made indigenous vaccine.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a telephonic conversation with the Prime Minister of Bhutan, Dr. Lote Tshering, on Tuesday. The Bhutan Prime Minister expressed solidarity with the government and the people of India in their efforts against the recent wave of COVID-19 pandemic. Prime Minister Narendra Modi thanked the people and the government of Bhutan for their good wishes and support. He also appreciated the leadership of His Majesty the King in managing Bhutan's fight against the pandemic and extended his best wishes to Loy Yen for continuing the efforts. Both the leaders noted that the present situation has served to further highlight the special friendship between India and Bhutan, anchored in mutual understanding, shared cultural heritage and strong people-to-people links. In order to address the surge in demand for medical oxygen, the union government has undertaken key measures to increase the availability, streamline the distribution and strengthen the oxygen storage infrastructure in the country. The Commerce and Industry Ministry said the steps undertaken focused on the entire oxygen supply chain, including efforts for improving oxygen production, enhancing tanker availability to optimize logistics, improving oxygen storage at the last mile, and easing norms of procurement. Oxygen availability has been enhanced by increase in production capacity and production, setting up of pressure swing adsorption PSA plants, import of liquid medical oxygen from overseas, and procurement of oxygen concentrators.
INS Kochi arrived in New Mangalore port from Kuwait carrying 3 ISO tanks with liquid medical oxygen, 800 oxygen cylinders and 2 oxygen concentrators on board. India has expressed gratitude to its traditional partner Kuwait for 60 MT of liquid medical oxygen. External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said in a tweet that India appreciates the generous contribution of 800 oxygen cylinders and 2 oxygen concentrators from the Indian community based in Kuwait. Further, a total of 58 ventilators arrived in India on Tuesday from Luxembourg and 5 lakh favipiravir tablets also arrived from UAE. India has welcomed the gift. Now let's take a look at the coronavirus updates from around the world. President of the United States, Joe Biden, hailed the approval granted by the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, to Pfizer-BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine to individuals between the age of 12 to 15 years. The FDA had earlier granted permission for its use to people over the age 16 years or older. Mr. Biden, in a statement from the White House, said that the safe and effective vaccines are curbing the spread of the virus, saving thousands of lives and allowing millions of Americans to start returning to a closer to normal life. The Philippines reported its first 2 cases of the Indian COVID-19 variant on Tuesday. The country's health ministry said that the variant B1.617 was identified in 2 Filipino workers who returned to the island country in April from the UAE and Oman, according to the reports. Meanwhile, a COVID-19 variant spreading in India, which is facing an explosive outbreak, appears to be more contagious and has been classified as being of concern, the World Health Organization on Monday. The UN Health Agency has said that the 1.617 variant of COVID-19 first found in India last October seemed to be transmitting more easily than the original version of the virus and might possibly have increased resistance to vaccine protections. Announcing the decision, the WHO lead COVID-19 scientist Maria van Kerkhove added that the new variant is not the only one circulating in India, noting that the British B.1.1.7 variant is also present in India. This is All India Radio giving you the news.
3 steps to stay protected and stay safe from COVID-19. Wear face mask, 2 gaz ki duri to maintain social distancing, maintain hand and face hygiene.
Germany has consistently supported India in its efforts to fight the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. On Monday, Germany sent an oxygen plant with the capacity of generating 4 lakh liters of oxygen to serve the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel COVID hospital in Delhi. The plant is being operated by the DRDO. German ambassador to India, Walter Lindner, inspected the plant on Monday and oversaw the test run of the plant earlier in the day. The development was the latest in a series of steps that Germany has taken in an exemplary show of solidarity with India in these testing times. In today's hotspot section, we bring you an exclusive interview with German ambassador to India, Mr. Walter Lindner. Ambassador Lindner talks about India and Germany's cooperation during the pandemic and in the future.
Thank you, Ambassador, sir, for speaking to All India Radio. My first question to you, sir, is that Germany has been very forthcoming in its support to India during this hour of crisis of the COVID-19 pandemic. Could you shed some light on what kind of support that Germany has extended to India so far?
Shubkin Pavanchi Apsisuka Achalaga. It's good to talk to you and to see and to hear you. Yes, we have quite a lot of aid coming up or already here in the country, starting with government to government donations, which is, of course, medicine, remdesivir, 55,000 packages, I guess. And then the German army brought in already 120 ventilators, which are already distributed to 3 different hospitals here in Delhi and outside Delhi. Then we have a mobile oxygen generation plant, quite a big one, which was flown in. And then we have other things which are related to our development cooperation, like cooperation with UNICEF, huge refrigerators where you can store vaccines, so to keep the vaccine chain cool. And then other projects, other things like universal health coverage, training laboratory personnel, and setting up devices in sequencing in laboratories. So these are things which are already here or set up government to government. Then we have German industry and associations which bring relief, which is, for example, the cooperation of FICI and German Association of Entrepreneurs. They brought in 1,500 oxygen concentrators already here in the country. Then the Indian Army airlifted 4 tanks from German companies or 23 mobile oxygen generations. Then we have German companies in India which do a lot of relief work from Daimler to Bosch to others. And then we have donations and logistics, the Lufthansa, DHL, Schenker. So there's quite a lot in the pipeline or already here in the country, which would be too long to enumerate now.
Sir, you mentioned the oxygen plant that Germany is delivering to India. Now, what is the status of the 4 lakh liter oxygen generation plant that is being set up here in Delhi, sir?
Well, it's quite a huge oxygen producing plant. So we needed 2 big air transporters, A400M Airbuses from the German military, which brought in the first part last Thursday and then last Friday, the second part. And during the weekend, they were 24/7 setting this up. And today I visited it already, and so they did the test runs. And so by tomorrow, they will be instructing and teaching the Indian side to maneuver it, because it will be then in the hands of the Indian army. And then I'm hopeful that in 2 days' time, so Wednesday, it will be operational, and then we can already start working and saving lives. So this is where it stands. It was a very great cooperation between the 2 militaries, and so it was a good example of how to do things fastly, quickly, and efficiently, I think. So thanks to all the Indian partners who helped us.
The help from Germany is much appreciated in all across the country. Now, sir, moving on from here, what are the future plans for support to India in terms of overcoming this COVID-19 crisis?
Well, as I said, I mean, we have already a lot of in the pipeline, which I enumerated already, but in addition to this, cooperation of laboratories to sequence this mutant of the virus, but also medicine is required. Anything which is required by the Indian government and which they will let us know, we will try to help, and as fast as we did the first batch.
So, back home in Germany, what is the situation regarding the COVID-19 pandemic, sir? How has the vaccination unfolded, and how is the country coping with this pandemic?
Of course, we are a smaller country than India, so we have smaller numbers of death and smaller numbers of infected people. And we have had in Europe a third wave of the virus, and it seems like we have broken this wave, and we are now on good course to get down of the numbers. Our weekly incidence rate is a little bit above 100 now, which means we can lift some of the restrictions, some of the curfews or the lockdowns and these kind of things. So people now enjoy a few of these freedoms already. But as you say, nothing is excluded that there might be a fourth wave, or in India a third wave. So this is a very unpredictable virus, and of course we have to be on the lookout of mutants like we have in South Africa, we have in Brazil and in India, to see whether those are able to escape the vaccines. We have rolled out a vaccine campaign, and I guess at the moment we have like 30% of the population is vaccinated. Second, at least first vaccination, which is pretty good, but of course it also takes time. But I think we are at the moment, but keep fingers crossed, on a way of smoothing out of the worst. But I want to be very careful because other nations have said the same, and then there was a next wave and then a next wave. So we have to be prudent and still keep up the measures.
Sir, zooming out a little bit from Indo-German cooperation during the COVID pandemic, sir, to the partnership in general across various sectors, what do you think are the prospects for Indo-German cooperation in the future?
You see, we have a very long-standing partnership with India. We are strategic partners, and we are very close in many aspects. Biggest trade partner in Europe, and the biggest number of Indian students are in Germany, not in the UK, but one would think because of English speaking, but in Germany because it's free and it's a good education system, I guess. So there are quite a lot of cooperation possibilities, and which we do already. So there's the civil societies, the cultural aspects, the language learning, and we have the development cooperation, scientific researchers. So there's a broad bandwidth of cooperation, and we will put forward that. But at the moment, of course, it's most important to get those people out of the emergency wards and save as many lives as possible. So this is the main focus. But apart from that, there is a broad cooperation.
Prime Minister Modi recently attended the India-EU summit. Now, what are your thoughts on the prospects of India-EU cooperation going ahead, sir?
Well, we were very happy that after 7 years of pause, we had a rearm of the talks. And so I think it was a very good decision there that we now will talk about a new agreement and also investment protection agreement. So now let's hope that this spirit of this digital meeting will also prevail now for the future, because now we need the talks and gets down now to the negotiations. And I think if we approach it on both sides with this spirit of cooperation, I think we should achieve something, because these are the world's two biggest democracies. It's India with 1.3 billion, and it's the European Union with 500 million. So this is a natural cooperation between two friendly parts of the world. So I think we should use this chance to really make progress.
And before we end, sir, what message do you have for Indians during this testing time?
I think what we all need is a message of hope that there is some light at the end of the tunnel, because 15 months of sitting at home and having relatives and friends being in the intensive care, it's really have an impact on every one of us. Now, I think the hope would be that you have seen how many friends India has when it comes to asking for help. People and countries are reacting and are pouring in help. And with vaccination going further on, and maybe we can, get out of the worst. And maybe if indications are right, maybe some peak has been reached. Let's hope that this is a peak, and from now on it gets a bit better. But it still needs a cooperation of all of our side. But I would say let's be optimistic, because if we don't share this optimism, then we have an even more difficult time. Let's think of all the frontline workers who help us and all the friends India has, and I think then we can pull through this together.
Thank you, Ambassador, sir. We certainly hope that the worst is behind us. Thank you so much for speaking to All India Radio.
Dhanyavad and vielen Dank.
Bangladesh has called the remarks made by the Chinese ambassador to Bangladesh, Li Shiming, on Bangladesh and Quad initiative as presumptuous. Talking to the media in Dhaka on Tuesday, Foreign Minister Dr. A.K. Abdul Momen said that Bangladesh has not taken any decision on joining the Quad initiative. It is an independent country which will take decisions on its foreign policy as a sovereign nation. Foreign Minister Dr. Momen said that Bangladesh maintains a balanced and non-aligned foreign policy. He said that no one from the Quad has yet approached Bangladesh to join the initiative, responding to the comment of Ambassador Li Shiming that the relation between Bangladesh and China will be substantially damaged if it joins the four-nation Quad initiative consisting of the US, Japan, Australia and India. Dr. Momen said that the comment was regrettable and not expected.
Major opposition parties of the Nepali parliament on Tuesday have started preparations to form a new government after Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli lost the vote of confidence at the lower house. A coalition of more than two parties representing in the parliament who will form Nepal's new government have already started consultation over the next leadership. Three opposition leaders, namely Sher Bahadur Deuba, Pushpa Kamal Dahal and Upendra Yadav, have called on President Bidya Devi Bhandari to initiate government formation procedure soon after the commencement of a special session of parliament today. All leaders from the Nepalese Congress, the Communist Party of Nepal, Maoist Centre and a faction of the Janata Samajwadi Party led by Yadav have urged President Bhandari to invoke Article 76 Clause 2 of the Constitution. Later in the evening, the Nepal President called on all parties to stake claim to form a majority government after Oli's failed vote of confidence in the parliament. In an incident of a shooting at a school in Kazan, Russia this morning, at least 7 children and a teacher had died. According to officials, several others were injured and taken to a hospital. A teenager was detained after the attack at the school. It is approximately 800 kilometers east of Moscow, located in the mainly Muslim Republic of Tatarstan. Tatarstan President Rustam Minikhanov described the shooting as a tragedy. Responding to the attack, President Vladimir Putin said he would review Russia's gun control laws. School shootings are relatively rare in Russia. One of the last major incidents happened in Russia annexed Crimea in 2018.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will not be attending the upcoming G7 summit in person. The External Affairs Ministry in a statement said, while appreciating the invitation to the Prime Minister by UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson to attend the G7 summit as a special invitee, said that given the prevailing COVID situation, it has been decided that Prime Minister will not attend the G7 summit in person.
Meanwhile, California Governor Gavin Newsom issued an expanded drought emergency proclamation for 41 of the state's 58 counties, citing above-average temperatures and dry conditions for April and May. Newsom directed the state's water board to consider modifying requirements for reservoir releases and take other conservation measures. The declaration also gives the state flexibility in regulatory requirements to mitigate drought impacts, which Newsom attributed in part to global climate change. The second wave of COVID-19 has raised concerns about the economic impact it will have in the country. Talking to All India Radio, News Secretary General of FICCI said in the first wave of COVID-19, the country was not aware about the nature of the virus and how to respond to it. In the second wave, the government as well as the traders are aware how to function with all the safety protocols in place. A report.
Secretary General FICCI, Dilip Chinoy said the first wave had called for a nationwide lockdown which had impacted the economy. But in this wave, in the localized lockdown, businesses are functioning at several places. In a message to all the shopkeepers, small businessmen and traders, he said that they should stay in touch with their clients and customers. He added they should also connect with their customers digitally. He said that they should conserve cash.
अगर आप छोटा मार्केट है आप उसको डिजिटली एम्पावर करिएगा बोथ डिलीवरी और पेमेंट के लिए और अपने कस्टमर से डिजिटली कनेक्ट करिएगा तो उससे जो आपके ऊपर इम्पैक्ट होगा वो काफी कम होगा तो एक तरीके से कैश कंजर्व करिएगा.
He added that due to the pandemic, people have moved to e-commerce and they desire to have dependence on no-contact transactions. He said the local kirana stores and local businesses too have adopted the methods of digital payment.
E-commerce will okay. Some of the shops and all will share of e-commerce will increase, but local shops will also adapt and learn how to deliver. Businesses also will go omni-channel. So, जो local businesses हैं, वो भी इसका फायदा उठाएंगे.
Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry (FICCI) has helped many hospitals in sourcing oxygen cylinders and concentrators and is involved in a lot of other activities to ease the burdens during the second wave of the pandemic. Diksha Saxena, AIR News, Delhi.
At the domestic stock market snapping 4 days of gains, key indices posted over 0.5% of losses each today while the rupee ended flat against the US dollar. In the international markets, Brent crude oil futures fell below $68 a barrel. Moving on to sport, in cricket, India will be touring Sri Lanka in July and play 3 ODIs and 3 T20s. Sri Lanka Cricket SLC has proposed an itinerary which was accepted by the BCCI. 3 ODIs will be played on July 13th, 16th and 19th and it will be followed by the T20 series running from July 22nd to 27th. Indian team will arrive in Sri Lanka on July 5 and they will head back home on July the 28th.
Now let us take a major look at the developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Washington Post writes that according to the census, China's population reached 1.41 billion in 2020, up from 1.40 billion in 2019. New York Times reports that Israeli airstrikes hit Gaza, killing at least 26 over 2 days as fighting escalates as Hamas launches a barrage of rockets at southern Israel, killing 2 Israelis. Wall Street Journal writes that the S&P 500 futures pointed to steepening losses after the opening bell, with technology stocks on track to be among the worst performers. Globe and the Mail reports that Myanmar reporters and activists arrested in Thailand. South China Morning Post quotes a former American defense official and says that the U.S. is on a self-defeating trade war track with China. And the Himalayan Times writes that amid growing pressure, NBC said on Monday that will not air the Golden Globes in 2022.
A quick look at the headlines once again. Indian government asks states and union territories to prioritize those awaiting second dose of COVID-19 vaccine. Early trend of decline in daily new COVID cases and deaths noted in the country, says Health Ministry. Philippines reported its first 2 cases of the Indian COVID-19 variant. Prime Minister Narendra Modi thanks his Bhutanese counterpart Dr. Lotay Shering for support in wake of COVID pandemic. Major opposition parties in Nepal start preparations to form a new government after Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli lost the vote of confidence at lower house. At least 8 people killed in a school shooting in Kazan city of Russia. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi will not attend the G7 summit to be held in Cornwall in the UK in person owing to the COVID-19 situation in the country. India is celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan Vaishnav Jan by artists from Bangladesh. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.